Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Simone here, and today I have a really fun video which will work very nicely for non-fiction November. Now these are my top 10 priority reads for non-fiction. These are basically the books of all of my non-fiction, are the ones that I'm like the most keen to read more quickly than the others. They're basically my priority. As you probably will know, November is always non-fiction November. It's hosted by the wonderful Olive from A Book Olive, and I love Olive's channel, and I love non-fiction. I read a lot of non-fiction. This year, in fact, non-fiction has been my most read genre by quite a long way. And I have a lot of non-fiction. You can see some gaps on my shelves here because it's where I've taken the books from, because I have a little stack going on down here. And I am very excited for non-fiction November. I'm probably not going to read like solely non-fiction or anything, and these aren't necessarily my TBR for this month. These are just the books that I think that I'm the most like wanting to get to quicker, but not necessarily this year. Anyway, let's not ramble any longer. Let's talk about the 10 non-fiction books that I'm the most sure are going to be my priority. So the first one that I want to talk about is on my Kindle, and that is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. I actually have all of her autobiographies. I think she's written 6, and I have 5 of them on my shelf, which ironically are books 2 to 6, and one of them on my Kindle, which is the first one, and that is the one that I wanted to get to. Maya Angelou is a really interesting woman, and I really want to read more about her life. I don't really know very much about her. I know that she talks a lot about racism. She is a black woman. She talks a lot about feminism. She's very kind of influential in a lot of ways, and I really want to find out more about her. So yeah, that is something that I am definitely wanting to get to, especially because I want to read the first one so then I can then go on to read the others that I do have. Talking about books that are kind of feminist in tone, we then have Bygone Badass Broads, 52 Forgotten Women Who Changed the World by Mackenzie Lee. First off, this is such a beautiful book, and I am really looking forward to reading this one. Basically, this one, inside it, has literally got like a picture of each woman, and then it talks about them. So it goes through these women that you may or may not know of. But the whole point, I suppose, is that they are forgotten women, and you have them, they're all from all different places, you know, you have all different people, and then obviously it talks about where they're from and what they actually have done and how they've changed the world. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I've got a few of these types of books now, and yeah, this is definitely one that I'm really excited by. I think the illustrations in this are absolutely stunning, and yeah, I can't wait to read about some pretty kick-ass women. Next up, we have a book that I've been wanting to read since I've heard about it on a few people's channels, and I've been wanting to read this for ages, and I'm really glad to have this book now. This is The Trauma Cleaner by Sarah Krasnostein. This follows Sarah Krasnostein, who is a trans woman, and also a trauma cleaner. And the trauma cleaner side is, so she cleans up after, it says here, a woman who sleeps among garbage she's not put out for 40 years, a man who bled quietly to death in his lounge room, a woman who lives with rats, random debris and terrified delusion, the still life of a home vacated by accidental overdose. So it talks about Sarah Krasnostein's life up to the point of becoming a trauma cleaner, and then obviously about her being a trauma cleaner and the things that she has had to clean. And I found that idea of that fascinating. I find it really interesting, the whole like trauma cleaning. It's just not something I had even thought about, but yeah, I'm really interested by this one. It's also not a massive book. It's quite a tall book, but not a very big book. So I'm interested, and I think this one could be one that I could read relatively quickly. So yes, and I've been wanting to read this one for quite some time. Next up is a book that I think I've had on my shelf for a good couple of years now. I used to read a lot more of this type of book, and I'm intrigued by it. And this has also got the highest rating on my current any book on my Goodreads shelves. This is my highest rated book on Goodreads. So I feel like it's definitely a must-read book. This is Battered, Broken, Healed by Maggie Hartley, and this is a foster story. I've read quite a lot of Kathy Glass books, and I always used to read Tori Hayden and Casey Watson, so they are quite sort of well-known foster authors, and this is somebody, I've not read any Maggie Hartley before, but I'm intrigued. This one, they generally follow this one follows Maggie, who is a foster parent, and she works for social services, and as a foster carer she has taken on 4-month-old Jasmine, who is unlike any baby that Maggie has ever cared for before. She doesn't smile, she doesn't cry, she doesn't look at Maggie. She's really, really small for her age, and they can't quite work out what's wrong with her, but obviously Maggie then essentially works with her and tries to bring her back, you know, up to a kind of healthy baby again. But one day, I believe, the baby's mother turns up unconscious or nearly unconscious on her doorstep, and she's been beaten, and I think it's about that really, and it's kind of about the relationship. Obviously they've changed the names and things in this, but I find it really interesting reading about this. These are desperately sad books, but I always find the hopefully the outcome will be happy, although obviously it's a true life story, so you just never know. But yeah, I always find these books really interesting, and I think being a foster carer is such a challenging job. I'm sure it's you know, has a lot of positives as well, but it just sounds completely like heartbreaking at times. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Next up we have a death book, because I like to read books about dead bodies. I've read a lot of them. This one is Morg, A Life in Death, and I really love the cover of this one, like with the morgue door there. This is by Dr. Vincent DeMaio and Ron Franchel, I think is how you say that. And again, I don't really know too much about this other than it's, I believe, about Dr. Vincent DeMaio and them talking about the cases that have made him famous. It says, from the exhumation of assassin Lee Harvey Oswald to the complex issues in the shooting of Florida teenager Trayvon Martin. So he has been involved in autopsies and forensics around different cases, and yeah, like I said, I really enjoy reading about coroners and death, so I think this is going to be an interesting one, and yeah, I'm excited to read. I think most of the ones I've read have been like quite highly rated by me, so I'm hoping this is another one to add to that list. Next up we have a book written by a woman who I have watched a lot on TV. She's a TV presenter and I absolutely love her, and I'm really looking forward to picking up her book. This is On the Front Line with the Women Who Fight Back by Stacey Dooley. Stacey Dooley is a TV personality, I guess you would say. She's a documentary maker. She has done a lot of different ones, and this is about her through the course of her documentary making. She's spoken to a lot of women who have from sex trafficking, domestic violence, gender equality, sexual identity. There are lots of different elements that she has like talked to different people about, and this, I believe, does a chapter about each different thing. So for example, she talks about prostitution and does a section on that. There's a section about child abuse, there's a section about war, there's a section about murder, and there's a section about abortion, that kind of thing. So I think this is definitely going to be interesting. Like I said, I absolutely love Stacey's documentaries. I've watched a lot of them, and I think this is going to be a really fun, I say fun, it's going to be difficult to read, I think, but I'm interested to see how Stacey kind of puts this from the documentaries into a book. Next up was one I don't know a massive amount about. Leanne gave me a few of, in fact some of these I've already mentioned, but basically Leanne gave me quite a few of the books that she was unhauling, and this was one of them, and I'm really intrigued by it. This is My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell. She actually gave me two Gerald Durrell books. I think the other one is Beast in My Belfry. I don't actually know which one comes first, so I'm not entirely sure which one I'm supposed to read first, but this is a non-fiction memoir about the Durrell family, and I believe it's also been made into a TV show called The Durrells, which is what this is on here, and I think they have a so they escape from Britain, this family, to the island of Corfu, and it's about, I guess, the animals that they encounter, and the things that they do. It says the Durrells find that reluctantly they must share their various villas with a menagerie of local fauna, among them scorpions, geckos, toads, bats and butterflies. So yeah, I think this could be really interesting. Again, the picture on the front has like lots of different animals, so I think this could be quite an interesting one. And I think I don't read a lot of books about kind of like nature and animals, and I think this could definitely be an intriguing one, and I hope that I'm going to really enjoy this one. Next up is another book that Leanne gave me, but I have been wanting this book for ages, and I mentioned to her that this was the one book that I've been trying to get on, like trying to find a copy of, and she said, oh, I'm unhauling mine, and I was like, please may I have it. This is Columbine by Dave Cullen, and I've been wanting to read this one for the longest time. I have read quite a few true crime books about school shootings, and I find them desperately sad, but I've been wanting to read this one because I've seen a lot of documentaries about Columbine, but this book has kind of always been heralded as the true crime book, at least to me. I also have Parkland, that you can see it there. Where is it? No, other way. There it. Oh god, there it is. So I'm going to read that one as well afterwards, but this talks about what happened when... This talks about the Columbine massacres, where 2 boys basically went into a school and ended up killing a lot of people. This was in 1999, and I believe that Dave Cullen has... it says he was one of the first reporters on the scene and has spent 10 years on this book, widely recognised as the definitive account. I actually read one of the... I've forgotten her name. Sue... I actually read Sue Klebold's book, and Sue is one of the perpetrators, Dylan Klebold's. She's his mother, and I've read that, so I think this could be an interesting one to read now I've read that one, and kind of seeing the difference between the two, because obviously it will be very different. But yeah, I am really intrigued by this one, I guess you would say. It's also a really nice floppy paperback, which I always love. Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by this one, and I'm really glad to finally have a copy of it. Next up, and the penultimate one on this list, is The Prison Doctor, Women Inside by Dr. Amanda Brown. I have read The Prison Doctor by Dr. Amanda Brown, which is the first one. This is the sequel, and this, I guess, talks more about the women. This follows Dr. Amanda Brown, who went from being a sort of typical everyday GP to working in prisons as the prison doctor, obviously, and it follows her. She's chronicling her life and the cases that she has come through, and the things that she's dealt with. The first one talked about male and female prisons, so I guess this one's going to be about the female prisons specifically. This obviously talks about things like the babies that are born behind bars, and drug addiction, child abuse, self-harm, sex work, and the fact that a lot of the women in there are also victims of their own like circumstances as well. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this. I really liked the first one, so I think the second one's going to be an interesting read too. The final one is another one that has some animals in it, and I am very much intrigued by this one. This is The Panther in My Kitchen, My Wildlife with Animals by Brian Blessed. Now, Brian Blessed to me always makes me think of Christmas. So I don't obviously think this probably has anything to do with Christmas, but when I was younger we always used to watch the Magic channel at Christmas time, the music channel, and Brian Blessed always did the, like, he dressed up as Santa Claus, because I mean, look at him, he's basically, there he is, he's basically Santa without like the super white beard, but he always dressed up as Santa Claus, and he did like the music countdowns, and I absolutely love him. I think he's so funny, and genuinely he just makes me laugh. And this is about him and his family, who have basically rescued lots of different types of animals, from cats, dogs, chickens, to a panther. I think there was a gorilla at one point, a cat, Jack Russell, ponies, an ungrateful fighting cock, a boa constrictor, lots of different animals that they have rescued, and this is, I guess, like talk through those and a look at them, and I'm really hoping that there is some pictures in here as well, so that's really nice. I'll just show you, there's some pictures of gorillas in there. So yeah, I'm really intrigued by this. I think this is going to be a really interesting read, and I'm actually quite excited by this one. So there you are, guys. That is the 10 non-fiction books that are on my priority list at the moment. Like I said, this is not necessarily a TBR for non-fiction November, but these are definitely some of the ones that I'm the most interested in at the moment. Obviously I have lots on my shelves though, so I always have different ones to pick from. I'm very excited. Let me know what your non-fiction priority reads are. I would love to know, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you next time for another video. Bye guys.